Hello everyone, happy Sunday. It is June 14th, 2020. I'm a man without a functioning beard trimmer, and I'm here to answer the questions that you guys sent me over the internet. Let's get started. First question comes from Wes Meme Gummery. Any tips for playing outside? So when we're thinking about playing outside of the chord changes, we want to get as distant as we can from the original key. So if you're playing in C, for example, and you move to the key of D, that's not going to have the most amount of impact, and it's not really going to sound like you're playing outside. It's going to sound like wrong notes. So what we want to do is move to very distant keys. These keys are a half step above, a half step below, and a tritone away. If we're in the key of C, that means B, D flat, and F sharp. You want to start by playing in those areas. The next thing you want to do is to find some very simple, singable melodies and try playing them in those distant keys. So you're hearing the relationships between the key that you're in and the key that you're playing in. Sing them. If you can sing an F sharp while playing in C, you kind of got it, and it'll integrate into your sound. Next question comes from BirdDB67. How do you incorporate lines, licks, ideas you get from transcriptions? No fair saying playing it in all 12 keys. And you have to say it in your Christopher Walken voice. So first of all, I'm not going to say it in the Christopher Walken voice. Look at that subscriber count, multiply that by maybe 10, and then we'll start talking about Christopher Walken impressions. To answer your question, playing things in multiple keys is an important step, but is by no means the be-all, end-all of getting new material into your language. If you really hate playing things in all 12 keys, try playing them in just 4 keys, right? The way that I normally go about this is by making a new piece of language sandwich, if you will. So the meat of the sandwich is the new thing that you're trying to get into your playing. And the bread is stuff that you already feel comfortable with or stuff that you already naturally play. We are trying to train ourselves to hear new avenues to go down in our own playing, right? So finding things that you normally do and then changing directions into this new material is a really great way to do that. Personally, I like to use quarter note solos as a way to develop this, either using the new material as quarter notes, or if it's a very specific piece of language, surrounding it with quarter note solo really helps me a lot. You can also write things out, write yourself mini etudes, write it in a couple of different keys or a couple of different octaves is really helpful, or write mini exercises for yourself that are 4 bars long that just repeat that material over and over and over again. The next question comes from Sean McCarthy Music. Thoughts on developing rhythmic diversity ideas for shedding rhythmic concepts. So a lot of the same ideas here is, first of all, you need to isolate out what you want, right? If it's a hemiola, for example, find it and write it out in a way that makes sense to you and find examples of other people playing it. Next, what you want to do is surround it with material that you already know, or use it as an improvisational game, right? One of my favorite things to do is take a 1-bar rhythm or a 2-bar rhythm or a 4-bar rhythm, keep the same rhythm, but improvise the notes over a tune that I know. That really helps me incorporate that rhythm into my already naturally occurring language. So the last question this week comes from Joey D. Bass. What are your thoughts on dominant chords? I have a lot of them. Dominant chords are our primary source of tension in Western harmony. They give us the most motion from tension area to release area. We can utilize that information however we choose. Typically in jazz, that is a 2-5-1, the 5 being the dominant chord and the 1 being the resolution to the tonic. In modern music, dominant chords get a little bit fuzzy. The blues, for example, uses a dominant chord as its tonic sound. That tension is there all the time. What does that do to the sound of the blues? Conversely, modern pop music very rarely uses a 5-1 motion. What sort of feeling do you get when you listen to that sort of music? It's not good or bad, it just is, right? So it has a tendency, in my ear at least, to be a little bit more flowing, a little less resolved, and a little bit more just tension throughout. Dominant chords and manipulating dominant chords are a huge part of playing jazz and understanding that language. All the way from not using them at all. I have a good friend who, instead of playing 2-5-1s, he plays 2 2-1, and it gives this very kind of flowing motion. It's very slick when he does that, compared to the other direction where we can actually imply other chords over dominant chords and add even more tension to our resolution. So what I'd recommend if you're a student looking to dig deeper into this subject is to really use your ears and attach that to what it makes you feel like, right? If there are no 5-1 motions in the whole tune, how does that tune evolve over time compared to a tune like, I'm thinking of Cole Porter's I Love You, which is it's just 2 5-1s in F, basically, not entirely, but basically. How does that feel as it progresses through the piece? What sort of emotion would you attach to it? Or what sort of arrow would you put that in? It's a really great question, Joey. I really appreciate it. Okay, that's going to do it for me this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below. If you like what you saw, do all the YouTube stuff and like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. This is a small channel and I'm trying to build it, so any support is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.